Ba-dum-bum, 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 ba-dum-bum. Hello, this is Mr. Nelson. I am your MJ for this episode of Math TV. Welcome back. We're going to be going over circle graphs today. This is an extension of percentages, decimals, and fractions. So if you need to go back and rewatch 6-2 or 6-1, they're both pretty short videos. Please do so. Okay, so let's start with this first problem. Becky spends 10% of her day eating, 15% is free time, 10% is homework, 25% is school, and 40% is sleeping. Create a circle graph to represent Becky's day. Alright, Becky's got a busy day, so let's help her by making a circle graph. Okay, so on your notes, just make a circle. Doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. Okay, now I want to point out some features of a circle graph. First, if you take the whole circle graph on its own, the whole graph is 100%. Okay. Now, if you let's scroll this up. There we go. Okay. If you take that circle and you cut it in half, like that, half of the circle graph is 50% of the graph. And if you take that same graph and you take that half, that 50%, and you cut that in half, you've got 25%. Okay, and if you cut 25% into half, well, let's do a new color here. Okay, you've got about 13%. It's actually 12.5%. But the whole point is you're using this to kind of estimate when you make your own circle graphs. So let's come back over here and let's make a new circle graph, and let's look at the information that's given. Okay, so we're told that Becky spends 10% of her day eating, 50%. Okay, now here's a feature that I want to point out to you guys. When you're reading problems like this, look for things that you can add together to make numbers like 50 or 25 or 13 or 100%. So in this case, you got 40% here, and you have 10% here. If you add those together, you get 50%. So I can come over here and I can make a 50%. Okay, like that. And if I want to say, okay, well, 13% is about that big of a wedge, so if I make about that big of a wedge, just like that, that would represent about 10%. That would be eating. Okay, so I put eating here. Okay, and that's about 10%. And then I go, okay, the rest of this, if that's 10%, 10% away from 50% leaves me at 40%. That's 40%, which just happens to be sleeping. Okay, so Becky gets lots of sleep. Okay. So now I've taken care of two of those. Now I come back over here and I look, school is 25%. Well, if I look at my example over here, 25% is just a quarter of that chart. So that's pretty simple. What I can do is I can just go to the center of the circle, and if I just split the other remaining 50% in half, I'm left with 25%. That's 25%. Okay, and in this case, 25% is school. So I'm just going to write school to label this part. Okay, and that leaves me at 50% is free time, 10% is homework. Then you add 15 and 10, that gives you 25%. That's the remaining part here. So this is 10%. If I make another little 10% little mark right here, okay, that looks similar to the one next to it, and I say that's 10%, Okay, that's homework. Put homework here. And that leaves me with about 15%. So let's see here. 15% is free time. Okay, so I'm going to put free time. Free time. Alright, and that's kind of how you go about. You want to take a circle and you break it into parts used for estimation. And that's basically all that you're going to have to do for these circle graphs. Let's look at another example. Okay, see, Emmy surveyed 32 second graders about their favorite toys, and she made the following table of her results. Okay, so blocks, 8 kids chose blocks, 4 chose dolls, 8 chose action figures, and 12 chose video games. Now, when we make a circle graph, we want to convert these into percentages. Okay, so let's see here. Let's look at action figures. Let's just do this one as an example right here. Let's pick a different color. It's kind of hard to see. Okay, so total, there were 32. It says Emmy surveyed 32. So I write my total right here, 32, and out of that 32, 8. Alright, and I'm kind of running out of room here. Let's move this over here. So 8 out of 32. Let's convert that to a percentage. So I don't know if you remember from your foldable. You may need to get your foldable out to do this, but we convert first to a decimal and then we convert it to a percentage. Okay, so Ned, which is the numerator, goes in the house. The denominator, the donkey's outside the house. It's just a little memory device. So I do 32. The donkey's outside the house. I put 8 inside the house. Okay, we're converting this to a percentage. So we do 32 won't go into 8, so we have to do dot 0 drop. 32 will go into 80. Won't go 3 times because that would be in the 90s, so we'll try twice here. So we put a 2, and 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, and if we're going to subtract here, that gives us 16 left over. Okay, so let's just do another 0. Let's add another 0 on there. Extend this problem out. Drop that 0. Alright, 32 into 60. Well, 30 will go into 120 4 times. 150 5 times. So let's try that. So we're going to put 5 right here. 5 times 2 is 20. Or sorry, 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus the additional 1 is 16. Oh, and look there. We have a remainder of 0. Okay, so our decimal, 8 30-seconds. The decimal is 0 and 25 hundredths. Now, had we just simplified this fraction, we could factor out 2. So we could divide both these by 2. Or sorry, by 8. We would have gotten 1 over 4, 1/4, which we know is 25% anyways, or 0 and 25 hundredths. But if we're going to convert this to a percentage, all we have to do, we're going, let's see, dp, we're going from a decimal to a percentage. So we go, move the decimal spot 2 places that way. So we start right here, the decimal place is here, we go 1 spot, 2 spot, and that gives us 25%. So that's 25%. And we come over here, and 25%, well, if I just draw the circle in half, and that's 50% on either side, and I cut 50% in half, that gives me 25%. And these are our action figures. Okay, now over here I've got blocks, which if we want to do this real quick, blocks is 8 out of 32, which is also 25%. So we could say 25% blocks. And 4 out of 32 is really half of 8. So that's half of, if we were to take this circle and the circle graph of the ring, we were to make it 25%. 4 is half of 8. So we could actually, we could split this in half and it'd be about 13% roughly for dolls. Okay, and we come back in here, erase that, and everything else is going to be video games. So come over here and I just write video games because that's what's left, the only one we haven't graphed yet. And if we have 50% plus this 13%, we have a total graph so far of 63% out of a total of 100%. So if we just subtract away 63 from 100%, okay, let's see, make that a 9, make this a 10, that gives us 7, this gives us 37% left over. Okay, so we come over here and write 37%, and this is kind of what a graph should look like, a circle graph that would represent the surveyed toys for second graders. Okay, so while I have y'all on here, I want to show y'all, I've heard there's some complaints that I talk too slow, so I'm going to show you how to speed me up. So let's check this out. Alright, here is the, let's see, let's move this over. There we go. Okay, so here is the YouTube video on Sophia. And if you just click on the little YouTube icon right here, it'll actually take you to the YouTube linked page.
Mrs. Sorrells here, large and in charge. But I have an excuse. Mr. Nelson does not.
Oh.
Don't tell him I said that.
I heard you, Miss Sorrells. I just slowed you down.
To teach you how to go from.
Oh, you're talking too slow?
Fraction to
Oh, I'll speed you up.
Decimal to percent and then backwards and percent to decimal.
If you're in a hurry and you want to speed me up, just turn me to speed 2. Just click on the little thing right here. Oh, what, I'm talking too fast? Oh, let me slow you down again. Y'all want to hear Miss Sorrells sing in slow motion? I do. So beautiful. She has such a voice. Such a great voice. I agree.
Mrs. Sorrells here.
Hi, Miss Sorrells. Well,
in charge.
That's all for today. Remember, if you want to speed us up or slow us down, click on the YouTube icon, and then you can click on this little gear, and you can choose all sorts. You can change quality, you can change speed, do all sorts of really cool things. That's all for today. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you tomorrow.